Friend, let me show you that we can keep the fire alive.
Cause it's not over till the summer. Say one more time.
I wanna dance, the music's got me going. Nothing I can stop how we move. Yeah. Let's break our pants and live just like we're golden and rolling like we're dancing fools.
Like we're dancing fools.
We don't need to worry, 'cause when we fall we know how to land.
This is part 2 of talking about how it's not easy being a Christian. If you guys remember back in February of this year, I had made a video talking about how it's not easy being a Christian, and this doesn't really come up a lot, and I feel like people don't really talk about this a lot, especially to people who are beginning in their relationship with the Lord and don't know what to do. And I thought about doing a part 2 for a while, talking about from my perspective of growing up in the church, being a pastor's kid, and I feel like there's not a lot of people who talk about it from their perspective, especially if they've grown up being a pastor's kid, and I just want to share it today. And if you've grown up being a pastor's kid like me, there were times that I had felt a lot of pressure being put on me to set an example of walking with God and reading the Bible, and it just felt like there was so much pressure on me to be a good person and that I couldn't show a lot of emotion, and it was definitely hard for me to be able to talk and express what I was feeling and what I was going through, especially having growing up on the autism spectrum. For somebody like me, it was hard to communicate and interact with people in my church, and just hard to express what I was feeling and going through. And I think it was even more harder for me to find people in my church who I could trust to go to ask questions about what do I do in my walk with the Lord. And there were so many questions I had that just I was so eager to ask, but it was hard to find people in my church who I could trust to go to, because I didn't know once I had told them if they were going to keep it to themselves like they said they would, or they were going to go behind my back and tell people what I was going through. And it was hard because there are times I still do have trust issues with people, and it was even hard to go to my parents to tell them what I was feeling, that it was hard for me to admit that I wasn't doing all right and that I was struggling with these things, and it was just hard to ask the right questions. And it's like I said, there were times I just had felt so much pressure being a pastor's kid, not being able to open up, and not realizing now that it's okay to admit when you're not doing all right, and that it's okay to not be perfect, because it's like I've said before, Christians are not the most perfect people. Like, we have the right to admit when we're feeling overwhelmed, feeling frustrated, feeling angry, feeling sad, and we have the right to cry, because crying is one of the ways of expressing what we're going through and a way to relieve stress. And I wish now, back when I was beginning in my walk with God, that I could have gone to people like my parents or people at my church to ask them so many questions, and just feeling comfortable asking them, what do I do? Like, where do I start at in my relationship with God? Like, where do I start at in the Bible? And I wish I could have asked people in my church that I felt comfortable being around to be there to encourage me, to pray with me, to give me advice. And looking back now, I would tell my younger self that when you start off with your walk with the Lord, it's not going to be easy when you get older, but that you're not alone. You have people that you're surrounded by that love you and are going to encourage you and are going to be there for you, to pray for you even if you don't realize it, and that God has so many incredible things for you planned. And I wish I could tell my younger self that even though it's not going to be easy walking with the Lord, that it's going to be worth it, because He has a plan for your life, and He's going to do so many things through you that you may not realize it, and that you may be thinking, how is God going to use somebody like me, especially with having autism, and how is He going to use me through my disability to share the gospel? And I would tell my younger self, we may not understand why things happen at a certain point in time in our life for a reason, that we may not understand why God allows things to happen for a reason, but what we do know is that He allows them to happen for a reason, to maybe teach you something or to help you grow stronger in your faith, and that something good is going to come from it. And I wish now I could have gone to somebody like my parents and asked them the questions that I had and asked them for the advice on where to start. If you're somebody who is just now starting your walk with the Lord, or maybe have just given your life to God, don't be afraid to go to somebody in your church or go to your parents who has a relationship with the Lord, to ask them those questions that you're dying to ask, and asking them what to do, like where do you start at in your relationship, because you never know. God, like, this is just the beginning of your walk with the Lord, and God has amazing things planned for you, and His plan for you is so much better. And I know that it's not going to be easy, because you're going to go through so many highs and lows in your walk with the Lord, but knowing that in the end, living your life for God is so worth it, and He does love you so much, and in the end, you're going to get to go to heaven and see Him, because you know in your heart that God loves you so much. Even if you don't think He loves you with all of His heart, He does love you, and it's going to be worth it in the end. And I just want to tell you that God loves you so much, and He's always with you wherever you go, and no matter what, He will always love you no matter what. So I wanted to share something funny that happened tonight. So I usually don't work Sunday nights at the movie theater, but I got scheduled. So I was working concessions as usual. Everything was going good. And then these 3 people came up, and one of my coworkers was taking their orders, and a young lady was trying to order funnel fries, but instead she accidentally said Funyun fries. And as soon as she said that, we were all just laughing, and she was like trying to say funnel fries, but instead she accidentally said Funyun fries, and we all understand what she was trying to say, and it was just hard for her to say funnel fries because she kept saying Funyun fries, and we were all just laughing, and I just thought it was so hilarious because that rarely happens, but I just wanted to share that with you guys.
You were there for me through all the times I cried. I was there for you, but then I lost my mind. I know that I messed up, but I promise I can make it right. Alright, alright. Oh, I can make it right. Alright, alright. Oh, I can make it right.
Happy Throwback Thursday, everyone. I thought it'd be fun to show you guys one of my old Halloween costumes that I wore during my childhood and just take you guys down memory lane, and I can't wait to tell you guys all about this costume that is behind me. So this was my Halloween costume that I wore in kindergarten of 2003. I was 5 years old, and this was one of the few costumes I actually remember visually as a kid wearing. And for that year, I went as Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty was my favorite Disney princess as a kid and still is to this day, and I was so excited about dressing up as her for Halloween in kindergarten. A little interesting fact about this costume, if you couldn't tell, it's actually not store-bought. This was actually made by my Granny Patty. My Granny Patty actually made a few of my other Halloween costumes while I was in grade school, and I love that I still have it, and it's something of her that I have left, and I'm hoping one day if I have a few little girls that I can put them in this and do like a fun throwback picture of them in it. But I just love everything about it, and I think it's still one of the cutest costumes I ever wore, mostly because I love this fabric with the stars and the sparkles. If you're gonna dress up as a princess, you gotta at least have a little bit of sparkle and poofy sleeves. But yeah, it's still one of my favorite costumes to this day, and I love that it was made by my Granny Patty. So that's all for this segment of Throwback Thursday. Love you guys and have a good day.
We were only 7, but we had few
이거 백혈과 펌디게 이렇게 맞춰봐 손끝자야 Yeah, we get to heaven 내게 돌아가줘 우리 값이 없어 anymore
We are together bulletproof.
Yeah, we have you 누가 우리 왔다
know by now, one of my favorite shows of all time is The Chosen. It's also one of my favorite apps. But if you do not know what The Chosen is or have never seen or heard it, it is a really cool show about the Bible during the times of Jesus, and it just really does an amazing job of bringing the Bible to life, bringing the stories to life, and visually, I feel like it has visually helped me understand the Bible better, and it just has touched my heart and really impacted my life. And the reason why I'm talking about The Chosen is because season 3, episodes 1 and 2 are going to be playing in theaters next month, and I'm just so excited about it. And I'm even more excited the fact it's going to be playing at the movie theater where I work at, and so I'll have a chance to continue telling people about God and just start conversations about the show and start conversations telling people about God. And so with this happening next month, I am fully caught up on all of the show to get ready so I'm not like completely thrown off or confused. And I had just finished all of season 2, and man, I just have to say that season 2 was so powerful and so encouraging. I really learned a lot from this, and all I have to say is that this season really made me cry more and literally gave me chills and goosebumps as I was watching it. And I just felt like I needed to share what season 2 taught me. So from watching season 2, I really noticed a lot of the disciples sharing what they've experienced, like what they've gone through that led up to them giving their life to God, and Jesus choosing each of them for a specific reason as a disciple, and just using them through their gifts, and just how they were able to encourage each other, and how each of them have made an impact on one another. And just seeing the miracles that Jesus performed in these episodes made me cry so much, and like gave me chills going down through my entire body. And it just continues to amaze me just what God can do through this show, and just how very powerful and real he is. And it makes me so thankful to know that I have a Lord and Savior that loves me and also loves you too. And another thing I've learned from this show is that even through your lowest moments, when you think you're not making a difference in the world and that nobody cares what you do, what you don't realize is that you really are making an impact on a lot of people, and you're inspiring so many people when you don't realize it. And it just moves me to tears, and it just taught me so much. And it also made me realize that God does hear us. Even when we don't think he doesn't listen to us, he does hear you, and he knows what's on your heart, and he sees you, and he knows that you're hurting in your lowest moment, and you think he's not using you when you don't realize that he's using you to make an impact on the world, and you are changing so many lives and inspiring so many people, and he can use you through your gifts to tell people about him and to inspire others to go out and do the same. And I want you to know that God can use you, and he does see you. And sometimes you gotta stir up the water, and just want you to know that he loves you so much, and he does hear you, and he sees you, and he can use you.
I was there for you, but then I lost my mind. I know that I messed up, but I promise oh, I can make it right. Alright.
그게 아닌데 시간 보내 시간 보내 찌릿 난 널 원해 왜 반응이 없니 난 날마다 말할까봐 찌릿
A hero's gonna save me just in time. I need a hero to save me now. I need a hero.
shaking, wishing you could just wait. Here we go. Now